For almost the entirety of my time as a keyboard enthusiast, I used just 2 cables with all of my keyboards. I'd choose one or the other to best match whatever keyboard or keycap set I had on my desk at the time. This white one was the included cable with my very first keyboard, the XM87, and this black one was the included cable with my Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Suffice it to say, cables were not really a high priority for me. These two did the job just fine, and I could match the white with light colored setups and the black with dark colored ones. I did always mean to check out the custom cable scene, but I just never got around to it. Enter CableMod. They reached out to me offering to send over their custom cable offerings, and of course, I excitedly accepted. They sent over a classic cable, a pro cable, and they allowed me to use their fancy custom cable configurator to create my own. You can find affiliate links in the description. Before we continue, let me tell you about this video's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is your one-stop destination for all things printed circuit boards. Want to spice things up and add some color to your project? PCBWay can help you go above and beyond the usual boring green PCB. Or maybe you want green. They can do that too. Head on over to PCBWay.com to check these colors out, as well as all the other specification options for your PCB project. And when you're ready to get started, get an instant quote from a PCBWay sales representative and be on your way to turning your dream project into reality. Big thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. Most custom cables you'll find in the market, like this one that I bought for under $20 are double sleeved with an inner layer of paracord and an outer layer of polyethylene mesh, commonly referred to as TechFlex. The paracord is flexible and provides your first layer of color, gray here on my cheaper cable. The TechFlex is more rigid and provides another layer of color. This one's clear. CableMod's cables are also dual sleeved, but they call their inner and outer layers Mod Flex and Mod Mesh respectively. In the configurator, the Mod Flex is labeled paracord and the Mod Mesh is labeled nylon. This Mod Mesh outer is much tighter than the Tech Flex outer on the cheaper cable, making the entire CableMod cable much more rigid. It definitely makes it feel more premium, but I did find the rigidity to be kind of annoying. Most custom cables feature heat shrink wrapped around their USB connectors. CableMod uses, quote, molded connectors featuring aluminum shells that have the same coatings as our quick disconnect connectors, end quote. The difference in quality is stark. The cheaper cable with the heat shrink looks pretty awful. We'll talk about those coatings later on when we go into the CableMod configurator. CableMod's classic cable features a coil, no detachable connector, and costs $39.90. I picked this lilac cable dubbed Rum Raisin, and it is a very striking design. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of coils as they seem pretty impractical, and I've heard stories and seen images of cables with coils that have come loose or just look plain awful after some time under use. All of CableMod's pre-made cables have coils that go toward the right and end upward. It seems like these are made for a very specific setup and are just not very flexible, both literally and figuratively. If you've got a keyboard with a USB port on its left side and not a lot of clutter on your desk to get in the way of the cable, then yes, it can look really great. But if you're like me and you switch between different keyboards with different USB port placements and have a desk with a million little things on it, they just kind of get in the way. You can already see this classic cable's coil is coming loose at one end, seemingly because I've subjected it to setups other than the single ideal one that it's made for. The cheaper cable seems to be more resilient to non-ideal setups because of its more flexible nature, as well as the fact that its coil ends to the right. If your setup isn't suited to this specific type of cable, fear not, for you can use the CableMod configurator to design a suitable cable. More on that later. The Pro cable adds a GX16 Aviator detachable connector to the classic cable and costs $10 more at $49.90. This cable is in the carbon gray colorway, but looks almost indistinguishable from black to me. I personally am not a huge fan of the Aviator connector. I think it looks really bulky and unwieldy, but that's my personal preference. The coil on this Pro cable has fared much better than the classic one, which I think is because of the detachable connector. Since I can separate the two halves of the cable, it's much easier to store without putting the cable in positions that can stress out the coil. Unfortunately, my setup is once again not conducive for this kind of cable because my usual keyboard positioning pushes the aviator to below my monitor riser, obscuring it from view, which negates its purpose of looking cool. Let's finally get into CableMod's Configurator, which allows you to craft the perfect cable for your setup. First step, pick your cable's layout. Do you want a complete cable, or do you want to configure a keyboard side only cable as an add-on to another cable? Do you want a quick disconnector? Do you want a coil? Next, configure the hardware. You'll have to specify if your keyboard has RGB or not, as this will dictate the length of the cable. You'll then pick the USB connector for the keyboard side and host side of the cable. Next, customize the coil if you choose to have it. Here you can choose the direction of the coil as well as the orientation of the end. So this is where you can have the cable differ from the pre-made classic and Pro offerings, which only have coils going right and ending upward. Next, configure the lengths of each of the cable's components. You've got a lot of room to customize here. You can even change up the coil's length and diameter. However, you are constrained to a maximum length for the entire cable. And lastly, pick out the colors. You can customize your USB connectors, the quick disconnect, and the sleeving. For the sleeving, you can pick different colors for the two layers. For USB connectors, you can choose between many different colors and materials, including Cerakote, anodization, and even heat shrink. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like you can change this black part, so if you wanted to go for a fully white cable, you would have to use heat shrink. For the quick disconnect, you can pick between an aviator and CableMod's own slimline connector. The slimline will add $16 to your cable's cost, but I think it's worth it. It's a beautiful, sleek connector that I find to be the main appeal of my configurator cable. Speaking of my cable, let's run down its specs. I configured two cables, a full straight one and a keyboard side only one. The original intention was to have a white keyboard side cable and a black keyboard side cable. This way I could just swap this part out depending on what matched my setup best, much like my old setup with the fully white and black cables. I did have to settle for a kind of three-tone look with white, black, and silver since I couldn't get a fully white cable without having to use heat shrink, and I really did not want to use heat shrink. Nevertheless, I think it turned out marvelously. I think it looks stunning, and I absolutely love having it on my desk. I think it looks great with any and all of my keyboards, no matter their color or the keycap set on them or the position of their USB ports. The total price of my two configurator cables is $91.30, $51.90 for the straight black cable, and $39.40 for the add-on white cable. And that's quite a lot of money for a USB cable whose main purpose is just to look cool. Honestly, if I were spending my own money on this, I would not do it. For me, it's too much for a cable. You can, of course, save on the cost by picking an aviator or not doing the add-on cable, but for me, that just makes it kind of pointless. I may as well have just stuck to my plain old generic USB cables. But if you've got the money to spend on this kind of thing, it is really high quality. Like I said, I absolutely love my cable, and I am very lucky to have received it for free. As for the classic and pro offerings, those do retain the high quality of the materials and construction for a lower price, but you're stuck with an aviator and you'd have to consider whether the coil orientation is right for your setup. These are available on Amazon as well, alongside some pre-made straight cables that do not seem to be on the CableMod website. What do you think about CableMod's custom cable offerings? What has your experience been like with custom cables? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, entertaining, informative, or any other positive adjective, please consider giving it a like and sharing it with a friend who might like it as well. For more keyboard-related reviews, analysis, and modding journeys, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on. Thank you so much for watching.